I mean, obviously we live in a market economy, so we delegate, responsibilities, and we have specialization and division of labor, and that's all fine. But ultimately, you are responsible for your own safety. I mean, that's not something, and it's been, legally demonstrated before that the law enforcement does not have an obligation to protect you. They have an obligation to enforce the law, right? The military does not have an obligation to protect the citizens. We have an obligation to follow lawful orders, support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, because there's no way you can make a government agency legally responsible for protecting you. You can make it a part of their purpose, but if you make them legally responsible for protecting you, well, then what happens when you get hurt? Can you take them to court and sue them because they weren't there, because the cop wasn't in your house when the burglar broke in? So I do think it comes back to, part of individual liberty is personal responsibility. And once you realize that you do bear some responsibility for your own safety, I don't think it's a constricting thing. I think it's a liberating thing.
Yeah.
So no, I agree.
You don't wait and back to my theme, you don't have to depend on some politician's empty promise.
Yeah.
And I really think, like, I was cruising around before we started talking about all the presidential candidates, and I suspect it's every single one of them, Republican, Democrat, God knows who else, that talk about how they're going to protect you. Mm-hmm. And they use it just to shoehorn whatever it is issue they want to talk about. They want to talk about gun control. Mm-hmm. They want to talk about sexual violence. They want to talk about immigration on the Republican side. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a lie. Mm-hmm. I don't think governments can keep us safe. I think that we keep ourselves safe.
No, I think. Now, obviously, I believe in a military. I believe in law enforcement and a court system. I think all of those things can contribute to a safe environment. They can also contribute to an oppressive environment.
Yeah,
it's a tool, and it's as good or as bad as the people that are occupying those positions. But I don't think individuals should ever surrender the right nor surrender the responsibility to recognize that they do have to defend themselves. Like I look at myself as, for my wife, for my kids, I have a responsibility to protect them. And that means physical protection. That's not just financial or emotional protection.
Yeah.
And more that term, I'm going to protect you, has spilled over not just into the physical protection, but it's the whole, we're going to protect you from every possible, challenge or difficulty that you could face in your life. And it really does. That sort of proposition does inevitably lead to greater, oppression. And I know that word, people think it's a little bit hyperbolic, but I'm sorry, how many lessons in history do we need to realize that once you have given the government this kind of authority, don't be surprised when they extend it way past beyond whatever you intended and certainly beyond whatever they promised.